Have you heard of hauntology? Hauntology is a term used by a philosopher, Jacques Derrida, in his work Spectres of Marx. In that book, he's using it to refer to the 19th century idea of Marxism seeming to haunt Western society from beyond the grave. Since then, hauntology has been given a rather broad net of definition, but usually it's used around the ballpark of talking about ideas that seem to surge into society out of nowhere, especially more interestingly if they come from something very antiquated. What's this idea doing here? Why did people get behind this or start talking about it all of a sudden? This is interesting. It's like a spirit has come back from a time unknown to reintroduce a concept to the people. I'm not really talking about hauntology today. I'm sorry. But I wanted to mention it because it's a really great word and a super cool concept, and we all learned something. Word of the day? Now, I do want to talk about ghosts and phenomenon, but it's going to take me a minute to get there. Stick with me. First, I really want to talk about Borderlands. Borderlands is a franchise that is very near and dear to me. I'm not really known to be a gamer that plays well with others. I prefer single-player experiences, and I generally always have. But the goofy, cooperative experience of each Borderlands game has been something I've always enjoyed playing through with friends. And funny enough, through the years, more or less the same group of friends. We played through the original as we 14-year-old lads peeing in our diapers. We played the sequel as slightly larger 17-year-old lads still peeing in our diapers. And you can bet the farm that we were ripe and ready to go for the third game at the age of 24, finally buying our own diapers to pee in. I also played the pre-sequel as well, very thoroughly, though I was the only one in my friend group that enjoyed it past the first playthrough. There are still some very lovely landscapes of Elpis that I enjoy to go back to and sit in their silent, serene solitude. I really like these games. They are in some small part a piece of me. The same friends and I tried to watch the movie together, but we had some technical difficulties, and I have a feeling that might be for the best. So 2019 arrives. It's finally time to play Borderlands 3. Picture this. Picture me. I'm zipping through the introduction, slamming Cotton Candy Fago. What a beautiful feeling, encountering the cel-shaded dismal planet and all of its delightful characters again. The old is dancing with the new. I cannot wait to see some of my favorite characters again with a fresh coat of paint. Tiny Tina, Krieg, Lilith, Claptrap, Scooter. Where's Scooter? But he's not here. You see, guys, Scooter is no longer with us. He went to the big garage in the sky in the spin-off game, Tales from the Borderlands, released in 2014. I genuinely had no idea about anything that transpired in that game. I'm very good at accidentally putting my head in the dirt in that way. So I was left with feeling that 5 years of grief all at once. There are two stories here. The first story revolves around the importance of primary and secondary creations, or the main shoot of a series and its spin-offs. If you're writing or making a piece of story-based media and it blossoms into such a beautiful work that it sprouts secondary creations that are intentionally separate from the main line, is having significant plot points play out in those that would affect the main branch an unfair punishment to people who are only following that main branch? Dude, the blue guys are green now. Didn't you read the graphic novel? You didn't know Swordman doesn't use a sword anymore? Didn't you see his cameo in Chicago PD? Maybe these examples are a bit too gauche. I'm not trying to say that these practices are objectively bad. In the original script, I did, but I don't want to make that strong of a judgment when there are undoubtedly great examples of secondary material enriching the primary. Supplementary material or spin-offs, whatever you'd like to call it, have certainly been on the rise in the past 10 years. I've mostly noticed it myself in television and movies. Frasier and Better Call Saul come to mind. Both of these shows were fantastic additions to their worlds, to the point where some even prefer them to the original outing, and the original is also great. Better Call Saul especially brings incredible extra dimension to Saul Goodman in a way that makes the original Breaking Bad far more entertaining to watch, even though the additions made to his character and his story are retroactive. Breaking Bad already stood on its own, but it has somehow been made better because of a spin-off. I actually really want to know what people think here. There are untold examples of this, more than I'm aware of, I'm sure. Elements of spin-offs changing the main series drastically, for better or for worse. Is it fair to say that this is an overall wise idea? Risky? Does it depend entirely on who's steering the boat? Let me know. Really, please, get on down there to the old comment section if you have an example of it. Don't be shy. We're all going to be nice to each other. Now, I want to return from the spin-off to the main branch. The second story based off my misadventure with Borderlands 3 and the expectance of Scooter is perhaps a lot more to chew on from a personal perspective. In philosophy terms, I would call this a little bit of phenomenology. Phenomenology is all about how our perception of concepts or situations shapes our human experience. If you've ever asked the question, is my red the same as your red? You're thinking how these guys think. That can be used to examine all sorts of things. Someone like Maurice Merleau-Ponty would look more at whole concepts such as heroism, nature, or language. Someone like Max Shaler, who we're going to echo today, would look at smaller moments that we encounter and see if we think it says something about us particularly or humans as a whole. Experiencing Scooter's absence in this way was jarring, certainly, but there was something else about it that was poking at me. I don't think it was because I had developed some sort of parasocial attachment to the character. It was, I believe, in the aspect that I had been here before in real life with real people. And maybe it's happened to you too. This phenomenon is what I have come to call someone encountering a living ghost. When I was 20, I ran into an old buddy at the airport. He left town right before high school, so we hadn't seen each other in maybe 5 or 6 years. We got the chance to catch up over lunch. We asked each other where life had led us. He had joined the military, already gotten married, and had a kid on the way. Great. He asked about our middle school principal. My buddy and this principal had never really seen eye to eye. You could say that my friend was a bit of a miscreant in middle school, mostly to our enjoyment. But my friend wanted to know how the guy was doing. He didn't know. So our middle school principal, well, he had passed away maybe 4 years ago, not even too long after my friend had left town. And I don't think I could properly describe the look on my friend Dakota's face, the micro expressions that twitched his visage around between confusion, grief, the shocking realization coming to him through time, and hitting his mind and his expression from different directions all at once. We didn't have much to say after that. We had finished our meal by then, so we parted ways shortly after. It was a surreal, somber, sobering way to leave things. Have you ever been in those shoes? Maybe you've been that person delivering the news to someone a few years late. Maybe you've been the person receiving that news from somewhere else in time. Maybe you're the person who died. Maybe you've been the airport. For weeks, months, years, this dead person lived fully alive in another's head, well past their earthly expiration date. And existential dissonance, two truths at one time. They hoped to run into someone for the longest time, talk to them again and catch up, only to find out that it was never going to happen. Infinite possibilities had been created for a person who was already gone. They were, as it were, a living ghost. How many living ghosts exist on Earth right now? People that are deceased, but there remains others still unaware, unknowingly imagining whole lives for someone that can never possibly come to be. How many people are there that you know to some degree? Friends, friends of friends, someone that really meant a lot to you for a moment, an hour, a year, that are currently living ghosts. Are you, dear viewer, ever going to have to be the one that reunites truth and time to someone else and give them that bad news? Will you someday become a living ghost yourself? I don't think in this day and age it's even possible to have not encountered a living ghost. Even if you live a life that others may call mundane, you've probably run into a few people who have since gone away that you still aren't aware of. They only remain alive in your mind. Maybe I've become a living ghost. Depending on the hour, day, year that you could be watching this, dearest viewer, I could be gone, and you might not even know. But if I do make it to the other side, I promise that I'll try to haunt a keyboard somewhere, log back into this channel, and let you guys know. I wouldn't want to leave you hanging on that one. Where does this leave us? I think one, at least, is that if there are people who have had some impact on you, no matter how small and for how short of a time, but you've lost track of them in the chaos of life, it couldn't hurt just to find out how they're doing. Alternatively, maybe you're the one that needs to poke their head back out into the world so that others who've cared about you know that you're still kicking. Maybe you're the airport, dude. I don't know.